On the streets of Makkah, you understand what they do to the kids, and they will display and they'll show it to you there. Quickly, I rushed toward him, snatching the money. All of a sudden, within a matter of 15 seconds, I had been cornered by the men standing on the side of the road. I noticed that one of them was armed with a screwdriver that he had hidden up his sleeve. This clip was in a video I uploaded from Makkah recently, and it has been viewed almost 100,000 times in a week. And that has come with a lot of questions in the comments. Like, why are you judging these poor people? Why not just give them money? Why even bother asking who's behind this? Am I discouraging charity? Am I telling you not to help the poor? How do I even know that there are organized gangs behind the scene? I will give you evidence in this video. How is it possible that organized gangs can operate in such a strict country? What do they do to these unfortunate kids? Are these poor people Saudi citizens? Where are they from? And the most common question, what are the authorities doing about this? I'm going to answer all your questions in this video right now. Welcome to Life Moves. I'm Saeed Mahmoud. Let's get started. Firstly, I'd like to say أود الشكر خادم الحرمين الشريفين على رعايته للفقراء على رعايته لكل من في المملكة أغنياء أم فقراء على حد سواء. To begin with, I'm not talking about all the poor people. In this video, I'm only questioning the unusually high number of deformed and disfigured people. I'm also not going to talk about those that resort to trickery, the frauds that come up to you in the masajid in Makkah and Medina and tell you stories about how they lost all their money and they need your help to get back home. They are frauds, and I have addressed that in episode number 6. I'm not going to talk about that in this video. With that out of the way, let's begin. Yes, Islam encourages being charitable and helping the poor, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what I give and you give. But if you knew that there are organized gangs of criminals making kids beg for money and actually doing far worse, astaghfirullah, I'm going to explain that in a minute. But if you knew your charity does not help the poor person that you see, if you knew that these gangs are going to take all the money that you give, would you still give it to them? Would you still consider this charity? If you say yes, well, go ahead, tafaddal. May Allah reward you for your sincerity, the fact that you are giving, alhamdulillah. If not, well, you have answered the question, the first question. Now you could say, I don't know who's getting the money, I'm just giving it to the person that I see on the street. Fair enough. May Allah accept your charity. I never said don't give them anything. I never said don't help them. I only explained what I know and who I would give to instead. We are all giving, alhamdulillah, but perhaps to different sets of people. To those who commented saying you should just help the poor and not judge them, I would like to say, first of all, let's not be naive. Secondly, I am trying to help them by raising awareness about this situation. Giving them money does not help them. And again, I'm not talking about all the poor people. There are people who would benefit from your money. I am only talking about the deformed beggars that are being controlled by the gangs. So keep that in mind. Giving them money doesn't help them because the money is collected by the gangs that exploit them. If you don't know about these deformed people and do want to find out more, I will say ask 10 people who live in Mecca and ask 10 people who either permanently or at least in long-term basis live in Mecca, not visitors. If you do ask the locals about this issue, they will tell you exactly what I have explained. If you are not able to do that, I will also leave some news links in the description that confirm the same thing. This leads me to the next question. How do I know that there are organized gangs that disfigure people when they are quite young? This is actually quite commonly known in Makkah. Only the visitors seem to be unaware. That's why I made the video, to raise awareness among the visitors. The locals know this from experience. There have also been newspaper articles as well. The news links that I have provided in the description are in English because my video is in English. But those who speak Arabic will be able to find out more evidence online. The locals will tell you that they see men and sometimes women sitting in the shade nearby and keeping an eye on the victims. Once in a while they come up and talk to them. Are these the ones that have disfigured them? No, they are responsible for one part of the racket. This is the perfect segue to the next question. How can an organized gang operate here? Also, where are the victims from? Well, it appears that they are disfigured in another country, on another continent. I don't want to name a country specifically unless I'm quoting directly from a newspaper, but those who know, know. In fact, some people from one such country commented on the previous video, episode 18, that they are aware of this. Anyway, given that the actual disfiguring is done elsewhere, it falls outside the legal jurisdiction of the kingdom here. The authorities here cannot prosecute someone for a crime they committed elsewhere. Even if they could, it becomes extremely difficult to gather evidence and prove something that happened in another country. Once the victims are brought here, they're just begging, which is not as severe an issue in and of itself. So it's not that simple to just go ahead and find out who is doing it and just have a crack at them at one go. So talking about doing something, a common question that have been asked in the previous video is, what are the authorities doing about this? I have heard two explanations, and there's truth to both of them. Firstly, as I said, the most horrible part of the crime takes place outside the country, so there's not much the authorities can do about it. And secondly, the situation used to be worse. From Arab News, I quote, "The Makkah municipality has set up an anti-beggary department to battle beggars around the Grand Mosque. The committee has been successful to some extent." End quote. So the authorities have tried and reduced some of these issues. So now you don't see the beggars inside the haram, rather they are in the roads leading to the haram. Often you see them in the surrounding streets. Mansour al-Hazmi of Makkah anti-beggary department said, and I quote, "We have been successful in arresting many beggars with disabilities. All the beggars have told us that they were forced by an organized gang to beg or else they would be killed. Children said they have had their limbs amputated back in their home countries because they feel it is more profitable to beg with severed limbs." End quote. They feel, meaning the gangs. And they didn't arrest only the beggars. There's more about the gangs themselves, the people who are behind this, and some of them have been arrested as well. I'll mention that in a minute. But this was from Arab News. It is a Saudi Arabian newspaper owned at least partly by a member of the royal family. A journalist from Arab News went to investigate this firsthand and wrote about his experience. And I quote, "Wanting to see the begging firsthand, I went down Al-Hajla road that leads to the central haram area. I noticed groups of young African children with disabilities lined up on the sides of the road. Many had missing arms and legs. I noticed that there were people, mainly men, sitting on the side of the roads watching. If the streets were full of African beggars, then those waiting on the sides would also be of the same nationality. If, however, in some streets the beggars were Asian nationality, then the ones waiting on the side of the road would be Asians. Thinking that they might be officials from the Makkah municipality or secret police, there was only one way to find out and know who they were. I went to one of the child beggars who was begging and had gathered a large amount of notes in his hand. Quickly, I rushed toward him, snatching the money, and tried to look for a getaway, when all of a sudden, within a matter of 15 seconds, I had been cornered by the men standing on the side of the road. They had gathered around me in a way that would not cause suspicion among the other pedestrians. They mishandled me into a back alley, and one of the men took the money off me. Alarmingly, I noticed that one of them was armed with a screwdriver that he had hidden up his sleeve. A third person asked me for my wallet before the men walked away. They emptied 320 riyals from my wallet and threw the wallet in a rubbish bin close by. It was then that I realized that these men were part of the gang using the beggars." End quote. I think that bit was quite self-explanatory. It does not require my commentary, only that African and Asians are not nationalities, but that's how it was written in the newspaper. Anyway, it's beside the point. There have been arrests made in connection with the gangs as well. Here is a report from Saudi Gazette. This is very recent, from Ramadan 2023, and I quote, "The security authorities arrested a number of Yemeni nationals who were part of a gang engaged in making money by exploiting physically disabled children for begging." End quote. The report also says, and I quote, "The law stipulates stringent penalties against organized beggary. Those who engaged in begging within an organized group that practices begging will be punished with jail term of not more than 1 year or a fine not exceeding 100,000 riyals, or of both. All non-Saudis who have been punished for beggary will be deported from the kingdom after serving the jail term and payment of the fine." End quote. So alhamdulillah, the situation is not all doom and gloom. It used to be quite bad in the 80s and 90s. now the deformed beggars or anyone visibly begging are not seen inside the masjid itself or in the courtyard of the masjid. Rather, you see them in the surrounding streets and around the other masjids of Makkah. So yes, more needs to be done. However, the authorities have taken action and they have tried and succeeded in reducing the problem. أود شكر خادم الحرمين الشريفين على رعايته لكل من في المملكة أغنياء أم فقراء على حد سواء. So viewers, what do you think is the solution? When you visited Makkah, have you experienced something like this? Or in another country, perhaps your home country, have you seen rackets like this? Let me know your experience, and if you have further questions, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for watching. I hope you found that video useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and if you have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. Your comments help me as well, because they boost the video up on YouTube, so that would be great. And if you have not already subscribed, please subscribe for more videos from around the world. Particularly, I'm focusing on the Islamic world, traveling many Muslim countries. So stay tuned for much more coming from all around the world. I'll see you in the next video. Happy traveling.